Hello and welcome back to another KCC video. I'm Rob and I hope you're having a wonderful day today. We're gonna jump into some malicious compliance. Our first story coming to us from Buckeye Hawk 86. Manager told me to choose between the military or my job, so I quit. Let's jump right in. I was active duty in the Army for 3 years, and following that shifted into the reserves for another 3 years. I was moving from one state back to my home state during the transition from active duty and needed a truck scale to weigh the moving truck before returning it so I could be reimbursed for the move. The Army pays you to move between duty stations and when you ETS from active service. While looking for a truck scale, I found a place that I thought would have one, but it turned out to be a company that installed and certified scales. The branch manager and I hit it off as I was explaining what I was there for, and he said he would like to interview me for a job. Sweet. I needed something anyway to support my family, and the job sounded pretty exciting. Within a couple of weeks, they had hired me, and I got started learning the ropes and getting the necessary certifications. Things went well, and I became one of the go-to guys when they needed some of the more intricate work done. I had several job sites I would go to on a regular basis where the customers loved me. You might be surprised at all the places where scales are used to measure product and sell things, from labs with tiny scales weighing to the hundredths of a gram to big truck scales installed at job sites to weigh debris from various construction projects. The job was tough physically at times, but I actually really enjoyed traveling all over the state and getting to meet some really awesome people. Fast forward a little over a year after I started at the company, things have been going really good, and I was going to school in the evenings to get some education and further my career. Now, sometimes the job required all hands on deck on the weekends for some of the bigger jobs, like truck scale installs at customer sites for one reason or another. Normally, this was fine, and there had never been any issue for me working the weekend unless I had drill with my reserve unit. But the company was fine with that as long as I got the needed paperwork from my unit listing the dates I would be drilling. This all changed at the end of May after I had been at the company for over a year. I had requested time off over the Memorial Day holiday weekend to take my wife to Myrtle Beach as a late honeymoon. The weekend before that I had drill and so was unavailable for work. The Thursday before these back-to-back weekends, which had been understood to be weekends I would not be available, my boss called me after I had left the shop for my jobs for the day. Hey, I need you to tell me which of the next 2 weekends you will be able to work. We have 2 big jobs and we need everyone available. You know I have drill this weekend, and you already approved me being off next weekend to go out of town. Well, I need you at one of these jobs, so which one will you be in for? I can't this weekend because drill is mandatory, and if I cancel the hotel that I have booked next weekend, it's gonna cost me money and cancellation fees. Look, we work in customer service. If you can't be available to work, then maybe you should look for a job not in customer service. Call me back or let me know when you'll get back to the office, which weekend you'll be working. This call was at like 8:30 in the morning, and I still had several jobs to do for the day. I called my wife and told her what happened and that I might just quit. She said I should do what I thought was best, and maybe it would be a good to be able to focus on school more and try to find something where they were not going to treat me like that. I spent the rest of the day contemplating what to do, and by the time I got back to the office that afternoon, I had made up my mind. I walked into the boss's office. I thought about what you said this morning, and you were absolutely right. I quit. Whoa, don't be hasty. I can work it out so you are good the next couple weekends and don't have to worry about the jobs. I already made up my mind. You tried to hold the fact that I have drill over my head and make me work the weekend you knew I was taking my wife out of town. Well, go home tonight and think about it and let me know in the morning after you've had some time to think. I went home and gathered all my uniforms up, washed them, and removed my name tags. I think he thought I was going to come back the next day and change my mind, because he had me scheduled for several jobs solo that day when I arrived at the office. He was sorely mistaken. I turned in my uniforms, collected my tools, and left after he and the branch manager both begged me to stay, saying they didn't have anyone to take my jobs and I would be hurting the company if I didn't stay. I focused on school the next few months and wound up getting a job in IT where I was making a lot more money with a lot less stress on my mind and body. Well, OP, you weren't the one hurting the company, they hurt it themselves. You know, you probably could have stayed there and asked for a raise in the process, saying, well, if you really need me that bad, you'd be willing to pay for me, right? Do me a quick favor, have a look down below the video. If that subscribe button's still red, it means you're not actually subscribed to the KCC channel. Please hit that subscribe button for more daily Reddit stories. Our next story today comes to us from Blink Bolt. Store manager said they wouldn't take my check. Let's jump right in. This was back around 1996 or 1997. I went into what was, at the time, a major computer and electronics store. I had my heart set on buying a particular laptop. I had done my research and they had the exact one I wanted. It was a Saturday, and I was looking forward to spending Sunday getting it all ready to take to work on Monday. Our company only provided desktop computers, and having a laptop meant I could take work home with me and not have to remote in as much over a dial-up modem and waste time downloading things. I could already envision how I would become the very model of productivity. I picked up the laptop plus laptop bag, Ethernet card, PCMCIA, and modem card. The total price for everything was around $2,800. This was back when large purchases were still routinely made by check. Stores would validate the checks were good electronically with services like CheckFax, similar to the way credit card transactions are validated through MasterCard, Visa, Amex, etc. Well, the store's modem was down and they could not connect to whatever system they used to validate checks. I had a debit card, but back then there was like a $200 daily limit on how much you could charge on your debit card. I know, the Stone Age, right? I told the store manager that there was a number for my bank you could call. It was conveniently on the back of my debit card, and they would provide verbal authorization over the phone. The salesperson, who would get a commission for the sale, already had the bank on the line. The store manager flat out refused to accept a check authorization unless it came through their system, which was down. He said he would not take my check and I would have to come back on Monday when the system was working again. No matter how much I am the salesperson tried to reason with him, he was not going to budge. Now, normally this would have steamed me so much that I would have taken my business elsewhere, but I really wanted that laptop. They were the only store in town that carried it, and I didn't want to wait for mail order, must have new toy now. So if he didn't want to take my check, fine, I'd pay in cash, lots of it. On Monday, I went to my bank and said I wanted to withdraw $2,800 in $1 bills. I thought about asking for quarters, but figured no one would have that many quarters on hand. The teller asked me why I needed so many ones, just out of curiosity. I told her exactly what I was planning to do with them. She was completely on board with it. That branch didn't have that many ones, they had about half. The teller called ahead to the downtown branch and they said they had the rest. She told them why I needed all the ones and they got a big kick out of it as well. Even though the tellers had to unbundle all the ones and run them through a counting machine, bank policy, they were more than happy to do so. The money filled up 2 medium-sized brown paper bags. They were all nicely bundled in bricks of $100 each. I drove to the store and, in the parking lot, removed the bands that held the bricks of cash together and stuffed the now loose bills back in their brown paper bags. I then walked in and found the same salesperson from that Saturday and confirmed with him that the same store manager was working that day. I had him pull the same stuff as before. I then showed him what was in the 2 brown paper bags I was carrying and told him to call the manager. The manager was none too pleased when I started, carefully so as to not lose any bills, dumping the $1 bills out on the customer service desk counter. I reminded him that he said my checks were no good, so I brought cash. He threatened to not accept all those ones, but the salesperson immediately jumped in my behalf. He really wanted that commission, I guess. Besides, I don't think he legally had a choice. It was US currency, good for all debts, public and private. That is literally printed on all US notes, if you never bothered to take a close look at one. Now, unlike the bank, they did not have a money counting machine. Every available employee, including the store manager and the salesperson, had to get behind the customer service counter and start counting ones. The store manager was pissed. The salesperson was not. He was actually happy about it. Commission, I'm guessing again. The other employees were, shall we say, ranging between annoyed and peeved. It took them quite a while to count it all. I then dropped the precise change on the counter to complete the sale price, 82 cents. As I was leaving with my new toys, I asked the store manager if he was going to give me any more trouble about taking my checks in the future. I did not wait around for his reply. About a month later, a friend of mine stopped in that same store. He said to one of the salespeople that he was a friend of mine and if he knew about what had happened. The salesperson just happened to be the same salesperson who sold me my laptop. He said that it had actually turned out to be kind of convenient. They had put all those ones in the safe, and ever since, they have not had to send anyone to the bank once to pick up $1 bills to make change. OP added a couple of edits down below. The first one says, I just want to clarify one point. Someone suggested that the store manager was in the right not to accept my check without being able to verify it. However, he could verify it. My bank, on their toll-free line, which the salesperson dialed, was willing to verify that the check was good over the phone. He was just too inflexible to accept the bank's own verification that the funds to cover the check were in my account. The same verification he would have gotten electronically through his network if he could connect to it. The toll-free hotline existed exactly for cases like this. I wonder how many other sales the store lost that day because the store manager couldn't be bothered to get verbal authorization from various customers' banks. Edit number 2, I feel like the people who are commenting about whether I was the jerk or the store manager was a jerk, or maybe we were both jerks, at least get the point of the story. Those who keep commenting about whether or not the store manager had to accept my $1 bills by law, I feel are missing the entire point of the story, since the store manager did ultimately accept the cash, whether he had to or not. I'd also like to add that the store manager was a real prick about not accepting my check. If he had explained that, as some has suggested, it was corporate policy and he could get in trouble, or that the verification system would protect them from fraud or NSF fees or whatever, I would have accepted that. Instead, he just flat out refused to take my check, even with the salesperson on my side, and was rude to both of us, and didn't try to explain any of that. Was I a jerk? Maybe. Was he a jerk? Most definitely. So it seems like there's actually 2 bits of malicious compliance in this, one where they brought in all the bills, and then the manager themselves just holding onto them going, well, I don't have to go to the bank anymore. One thing to keep in mind here though is that in the US and in Canada, they're not required to take that many bills. In fact, they can deny a sale for any reason they really want to. It's their private property and their rules. Our next story today comes to us from EFPig75. The company appreciates your long and devoted service. Have a frying pan. Let's jump right in. Inspired by a recent post by someone cashing in their unused canteen allowance on leaving by bulk ordering wine and chocolate gift packs. I worked in the London office of a large, respected, and well-known international but US-based organization who like to profess, believe, pretend they were a caring, sharing, benign, and PC employer who truly cared about members of the corporate family and only had our best interests at heart while they shafted us. The usual: years of pay freezes for us proles, job vacancies, unfilled doubling our workload, essential equipment left obsolete, etc., while the bosses gave themselves increasingly huge bonuses, fancy titles, and perks. They were particularly proud of their Corporate Employee Service Recognition Award scheme, which had its own dedicated catalog and latterly website where, on achieving so many years of serfdom, a choice from a new cornucopia of appreciative gifts would be lavished upon you, with due ceremony, along with a poorly mimeographed certificate of service. I failed to keep a hard copy, which I regret, but certain items we could select remain seared in my memory. 15 years of service, for example, could be rewarded with a ring containing a 0.01 carat black diamond, aka coal. Another option at 25 years could be an orange cast iron skillet. You get the picture. Another was something only available to our US colleagues for whom there was no mandatory retirement. 60 years service could earn you the ultimate, a cheap, Chinese-made, 16-speed racing bicycle. Given that, at an absolute minimum, you'd have to be 76 to get this, the bad joke was that you were encouraged to ride this in heavy traffic in order to rid the company of their pension obligations. Which brings me to our little collective attempt at malicious compliance. It took the company several years to cotton on, but when a home gymnasium setup strangely became available as a 25-year service award, it immediately became the go-to choice of all my worldwide colleagues. Why? Not for any desire for fitness, but because all these things had to be sourced and shipped from the States. Shipping for a crappy but hugely bulky and heavyweight frame, dumbbells, and all the weights to Sydney, Delhi, Ulaanbaatar, or wherever probably cost the company at the very least 20 times the value of the item. Not to mention the customs duties and import fees. I think this went on for about 5 years before the bean counters clocked it. Myself, I missed out and had to settle for the orange frying pan to remind me how much they valued my 25 years of servitude. It's mounted on the wall for my grandchildren to revere. My dad worked for Sears Canada for over 35 years, and I recall a few things that he got for his long service. There was a watch and a mantle clock. When I was younger, I always thought they were pretty neat, but now when I look at them, I go, wow, that's it for your 25, 30 years of service? I guess he came out on top in the end though. He was able to write out his own job with the severance package, and now the company doesn't exist. Thank you to all 3 OPs for posting their stories in the Malicious Compliance subreddit. They are linked in the description down below. Please go check them out. Check out one of these other videos, and if you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button for more daily Reddit stories.